Hello and good evening. Thank you all for coming. We are going to start today with a song from Janet No. Janet is a graduate of Yale University and a nationally awarded classical pianist. She is an emerging Broadway composer and recording artist. Tonight, she is performing one of her original songs, There's Her Place, from her new musical, Off the Boat, in remembrance of Michelle Alyssa Go.
It's just a pattern, the same routine comes and goes like spring and fall. Wait for the morning, you'll see it'll be just like nothing happened at all. People who hurt, they say things that aren't true. They're so blinded by their pain. But don't let their hurt cast a cloud over you, or you'll be standing in the rain. I'll share with you a secret between just you and me. Whenever you might need it, you'll find it here, the key. There's a place that I know where we always can go, not too far away from here, where there's sun and the shade and you're never afraid your worries disappear. There's a rainbow in the sky from a cloud that's passing by, and you've never seen a light so bright. I'll help you find that place tonight. Yeah. If you just close your eyes, there's a way to get through. Think of a happy memory. No one can take that away from you. Not mom, not dad, not me. I've shown you my big secret. Now it's yours to make your own. It's time that you believe it, so you'll never feel alone. There's a place that you know where you always can go, not too far away from here, where there's sun in the shade and you're never afraid your worries disappear. There's an answer in the sky, and you will find it if you try, and you'll never see a light so bright. I'll help you find that place. It's just a pattern, the same routine comes and goes like spring and fall. Wait for the morning, I'll see it'll be just like nothing happened at all. There's a place that we know where we always can go, not too far away from here, where there's sun in the shade and we're never afraid when worries disappear. There's an answer in the sky, and we will find it if you try, and you've never seen a light so bright. I'll help you find that place. I know we'll find our place. I'll help you find that place tonight.
Thank you, Janet. Now we will open with a prayer from Reverend Elder Kirsten Foy.
Praise the Lord. We've come today to declare that Michelle lives. We come today to declare that in the face of hate, we bring hope. We've come to declare today that in the face of violence, we lift up voices. We've come to declare today that in the face of fear, we forge forward. We've come to declare today that we will reclaim our city from a cloak of darkness by lifting up Michelle's light. We've come to declare today that we are better than this. We've come to declare today that our past failures will be today's lessons. How we treat one another in the face of sickness and mental health as a city. How do we look past the pain of another because we can't sympathize or empathize? We've come to declare today we are better. We are brighter, and we lift up Michelle's light and anoint this day as the day that New York City rose from the ashes of violence to reclaim her greatness, to give love for hate, to give comfort for pain, to give good public policy in the face of torn communities. We will not leave Michelle behind. We will use her light to forge forward as one city committed to one another's wellness, to one another's well-being. We come to embrace this family, embrace this community, and say there shall be no force strong enough to keep us divided. There shall be no force strong enough to keep us on our knees. We lift up Michelle's light to reclaim our city from the darkness and the cloak of violence. And we will do so hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, mind to mind, and good public policy to good public policy. Let us remember Michelle. Let us remember this family. And let us never forget, New York is only as great as we make her. And we will not give our city over to darkness, to fear. We will not give our city over to hate. We will heal our sick. We will love our neighbor. And we will reclaim our city's greatness in Michelle's name. And the people united shall never be defeated. God bless New York. God bless Michelle and her family. God bless our united community. God bless those who are charged with enforcing the law. Temper them with wisdom and justice, and pour comfort out upon this family, this community, and this city. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. And thank you to all those who have braved the cold to come join us tonight. My name is Benjamin Way. I'm the founder and executive director of Agents Fighting Injustice and the lead organizer of today's Vigil. 2 days ago, I saw the news break on my Instagram feed because I check it almost every hour in fear of hearing news just like the news that broke. And as the news came out, that first it was a photo, then it was her age, then where she worked, a pit formed in my stomach. And I thought, wow, that's really close to my age. Wow, she went to schools that my friends went to. And then I looked her up on LinkedIn and realized that we have connections in common. And that actually one of my dear friends worked on the same team of hers at Deloitte. And so I called him and I said, have you heard the news? Is this true? And he said, I don't know. Let me go find out. And that pit sank even deeper because this tragedy of another member of our community, the AAPI community here in New York, being taken from us is one that we've heard way too often over the past 2 years. Sadly, in New York City, in 2020, while everybody was quarantining and hate crimes across the city dropped, hate crimes against the AAPI community rose by 800%. In 2021, it rose by 350% at least. And those were just the ones that were recorded by the NYPD. There has been a painful history in the past 2 years of mentally ill, violent individuals attacking members of our community. I think of the young man in February of last year who was walking down the street in Chinatown, who was stabbed with an 8-inch blade in the middle of his back and went into critical care, almost losing his life and losing many, many vital organs. He was the reason why I got involved in organizing. He was a friend of a friend. And from his memory, I said, I have to do something. And so together, we came and hosted a rally in Columbus Park on March 21st. And a couple days right beforehand, the tragic shootings in Atlanta happened. And again, members of our community were taking for us, the AAPI community in this country. And those attacks have continued. Will Makari, who only a couple blocks away, was attacked by a mentally ill individual, stomped on the street as 3 security guards watched, and everything was caught on tape. A few months later, Yao Pan Ma in East Harlem, collecting cans to make ends meet because he lost his job due to the pandemic, was brutally attacked, beaten within inches of his life, trying to provide for his family. And sadly, a couple of weeks ago, we heard that he passed away. And so today, we are here not to talk about these individuals, but to honor the memory of Michelle Alyssa Go and pay respects to the way she lived her life. As we put together this vigil today, I heard countless stories from her close friends, her coworkers, who talked about the way she lived. And it wasn't just a job that she performed. It wasn't just her being a quiet neighbor. Those are people who didn't really know the true Michelle. Michelle was giving. She was the best friend that anybody could have. Her friends called her the ultimate friend, who would drop everything with a smile to care for them. And she cared for our city, volunteering with the unhoused and the young, helping them pave a better life for themselves and giving of her time. So today you will hear from a lot of local leaders, and I am honored that they come and share their message of solidarity. I will tell them now, and I have told them before they came here, that we will hold them accountable, that the safety of New Yorkers is a human right. We have a right to feel safe in our streets and in our subways. I was born here, born in Chinatown, and have ridden the subway since I was 10 years old. And our greatest fear as a strap hanger is being pushed onto the tracks. It lingers in the back of our brains. And to hear that happen to a member of our community, a member of our city, we are heartbroken. And so we ask all the electeds here, all the leaders here to deliver on their promises. To one, first and foremost, promise safety. To think about how do we thoughtfully treat mental illness that is sustainable, that is humane, that helps them, but as well as aiding our communities and making sure that our most vulnerable are also not in danger. These are hard problems, and I know we as New Yorkers will be able to solve them together. And so everybody here, everybody listening, please hold our leaders accountable to make sure that the promises they make here today are concrete, that they dedicate fiscal dollars, that they build task forces and committees, and that they are measured by the promises that they make on this platform today. Finally, we ask them to engage with the AAPI community. We know that Michelle studied public policy, that she cared about civic duty, and that we want to honor her legacy by making sure that the needs of the AAPI community, one that makes up over 10% of this fair city and only making up a small percentage of the budget, I believe 1 to 2%, to close that gap and to answer our concerns of safety. We will hear from our leaders. We will also hear from her friends and from her coworkers who want to share messages with all of us today. We will remember her as she has lived and carry her with her in our hearts. I would now like to introduce Congresswoman Grace Meng. The Congresswoman has been a leader for our community, standing up on a national stage and the first and loudest voice talking about the needs of our community. It is with her, she was the first phone call, text message I made, I believe in the middle of the night on Saturday saying, hey, I think we need to do this. And she responded immediately and she said, how can I help? So this was only made possible with her. So let's all please welcome her to the stage.
Thank you to Ben, to your entire team for demonstrating the love that was born out of this year and a half or so of pain and trauma for the AAPI community. Thank you for bringing us all together today. We come here to remember the life of Michelle Alyssa Go. We come collectively to express our sorrow and our condolences to her family, her friends, her co-workers, to all that knew her. I know that people are really scared. People in the Asian American community and many New Yorkers. But we come together today and in the weeks and months ahead to work to honor the legacy of people like Michelle. Michelle sounded like an amazing person, the quintessential New Yorker. A smart, busy woman who took time out of her schedule during the week, weekends, and on holidays to help those who needed help the most. She was a kind and generous person She volunteered incessantly and worked hard to help others as she sought to make our city an even better place. She was taken from us too early. But we gather here today not just to express our condolences, because the way we carry out Michelle's legacy is not just here on one night with candles and kind words, but in our actions. We need to make sure that we are working to demand equity and justice and answers. There are too many people, especially in the Asian American community, who are terrified to walk the streets, terrified to go to the grocery store, to take the subways, to leave their homes. I really want to thank Asians Fighting Injustice for the incredible work that they have done, especially in this last year and a half. One of the reasons for creating this group and the thinking behind it was through a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King, a quote that is familiar to many of us as we celebrated his birthday and legacy just this week. And justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. None of us can be safe if there's any community that does not feel safe. And we live in a diverse city. We have different solutions and different answers and different ideas and how we are going to achieve this. Some people want more law enforcement. Some people want less. Some people think more services and mental health support is the answer. And some people even seek to divide us and to try to blame certain communities. I just want to say that none of those solutions on its own is sufficient. This is a complicated problem. The roots are deep, deeply rooted in poverty and racism. And we will not find an answer by simple talking points or just blaming people and pointing fingers. Blaming certain communities and increasing tension will not solve this problem. And I, as an Asian American, want to stand strong and loud and clear that I will not tolerate that. People who need mental health support have been wrongly forced into the criminal justice system instead of getting the help that they need. People leaving the prison system have been inadequately placed into shelters with little to no support. Our police officers have often been forced to act as mental health professionals and first responders as they answer calls and go around the city. So what are the solutions? We need to have the tough conversations. The solution will not be easy, but we need to have these tough conversations. Finger pointing alone is not going to solve the problem. It is important for us to build upon the allies that we have met through this process and in the years past, and that we will continue to meet. It's been a hard year for the AAPI community. I bet you almost everyone here has been to some public event, some Stop Asian Hate rally and protest. But if you remember throughout the last year and a half, when you were at these rallies, the people there were not only Asian Americans. There were a lot of people from a lot of other communities that came out to support the AAPI community. And I say this to make sure that our AAPI community understands the love and the support and the strength that so many other New Yorkers and people across the country have shown us. You can clap for that. This is unprecedented. We made history. And so we have to make sure that we are building upon and expanding those coalitions and not pointing fingers at any other communities. We passed federal legislation in Congress that is just a start. And as we wait for it to be implemented, I want to say, as someone who got that law passed, that I couldn't have done it without support from my colleagues, from the communities, from the Black community, Hispanic community, LGBTQ community, the Jewish community, etc. I could not have gotten that done. And part of that law is to ask for more statistics because, like Ben said, this is a public health crisis and we don't have enough data and statistics to know how bad this problem is. It only feels bad and feels more real because some people were able to capture it on video and put it on social media. But otherwise, we might not have known how bad these incidents and tragedies were. Part of that law also requires more support for our local organizations, many of whom you are a part of, who provide resources and help for people, including for support on mental health issues. And so I accept Ben's challenge, as do so many of my colleagues who are behind me today. They came to show support, not just in words, but in action. We promise to stand with the AAPI community and with so many New Yorkers as we work harder to find better solutions to make sure that this city is a better and safer place for all of us. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. Some of you, it's your first event. Some of you may have gone to countless events. And as an Asian American, I want to say I appreciate so much. I so appreciate the support that New York has shown to the AAPI community. We have formed new friendships, and we got to be there for each other. When other communities are suffering, we can't just show up when it's for the AAPI community. We have to show up when other communities are struggling too. So I hope that I see many of you at AAPI rallies, and I hope we can stop having these anti-Asian violence rallies soon. But I hope that I will see you around the city as we continue to build friendships and learn new ways to support each other's communities. Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
I would like to now welcome our newly elected Mayor Adams to the stage. He has worked a lot with the community in his time leading, and I've heard he has really dedicated himself to helping the immigrant community in his borough before becoming mayor. And so we look forward to hearing his vision and working closely with him to making sure that he delivers on his promise. Let's please welcome Mayor Adams.
Thank you so much. Started my afternoon today visiting the family and at a memorial service for Detective McDonald. Detective McDonald was shot and paralyzed in 1986. And he started a significant program. Instead of allowing the violent pain to engulf him, and many people thought it would be the end of his life, it became the start of his journey to end the cycle. I just left Harlem, visiting the wake of young 19-year-old Crystal, shot and killed in Burger King, just a child, and speaking with her parents and feeling the pain. Right here in Times Square, I served as a captain in the police department in that same train station on 42nd Street many days during the early 80s, wearing the blue uniform as a police officer and the transit police officer, watching where we were, swearing and committing that we would never go back. And I'm saying to you, in 2001, standing with the family members of a young Chinese delivery man who was assaulted, attacked, and robbed, standing side by side with the family to call for justice. I give you that analysis because I'm saying to you, this is not the position I'm taking as the mayor of the city of New York. This is the position I'm taking as my life work. I wanted to be mayor to ensure that we can create a city where we can raise healthy children and families. Losing this wonderful young lady, the death of Michelle ripped at my heart. To see what happened to her and to see what has happened in our city months after month, or what has happened to the AAPI community, and sitting in meetings and meeting family members and seniors and elders who are afraid to walk the street, afraid to do the daily interactions that they've done so many years in this great city. I'm recommitted to ensure that this will not happen in our city. We have to do this together. I don't want the knee-jerk reaction of going through our subway system and going through our streets and demonizing those who have slipped through the cracks and did not receive the mental health treatment that they deserve. We must ensure that we have a plan of intervention and prevention. Intervention is what we must do now. My deployment of law enforcement officers matched with mental health professionals to identify those who are in need, and give them the services immediately is what we must do right now. But then there's prevention. Prevention is to ask ourselves, what city are we living in? A city that's segregated in so many levels, isolated. We are not creatively allowing our children to learn from each other in school. That's why 2 years ago I did Breaking Bread, Building Bonds, 100 dinners over the city, 10 people at each dinner coming from different communities and ethnic groups and sitting down and doing something revolutionary, talking to each other, knowing who we are and who we represent. We pass each other every day and don't respect the beauty of our diversity in a city as diverse as this. Brooklyn alone, 47% of the people speak a language other than English at home, one of the largest API communities, and we do not interact the way we should. So yes, we must give services to those who are dealing with mental health issues. Yes, we must deal with crime in real time. But yes, there's some things that we can do every day. By saying hello, good morning, and interacting with each other, and no longer allowing our city to be an isolated city where we lean into the places we disagree instead of the places we agree. This is New York City, the most diverse place on the globe. It's time for us to come together as a city and not allow these issues to take place. My heart goes out to this family. I ask the press to please allow the family to mourn, give them the privacy that they deserve, and I ask all of us to see why we're members of the greatest race alive, and that's the human race. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Adams. Next, we have our New York State Attorney General, Tish James.
We stand with the AAPI community, the African American community, the Latino community, the Jewish community. All of us are one, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, with no space between us. And we stand against hate, and we stand as one. This is the only way that we will resolve this, to show to those that we are one, and we will not be divided. Yes, AAPI lives matter, and AAPI voices must be heard. Scripture teaches me that those who walk uprightly enter into peace. And today, Michelle Ho is in peace. In words of those who knew her best, Michelle Go was brilliant. She was beautiful. She was kind. She loved her neighbors and her friends. And she loved to travel the world and to help others. But she died such a violent and tragic death. I want to express my condolences to the Go family. And I must recognize the fear, the anger, and the grief of the AAPI community. It must be recognized. I want to thank Ben. I want to thank the Congresswoman. And I want to thank all of my colleagues who are here today. But we are here also to talk about a city and a state and a nation in distress. We have experienced a rising tide of hatred aimed at Asian Americans, and I remember as a city council member when there was hate targeted at Asian Americans in my community. And I remember the response that I organized. And I will stand with the AAPI community, and I will continue to stand with them. We must stop the stereotyping of the AAPI community. We must stop the tropes. We must stop blaming each other. We have people living on a street, and we must admit it, who are a danger to themselves and to others. Not all individuals who are struggling with mental illness are dangerous, but let's be honest, some are. And it's time to say enough. Enough. And we must focus our energy and ensure that the state and local governments provide resources to individuals who are struggling with mental illness. It's time for urgent action. We need to do more and to address the chronic and structural and unfair conditions that leave individuals struggling with mental illness on the street and those with untreated and undiagnosed and dual illnesses. We must get them assistance. Michelle Go represents what all of us love about this city. She came here from somewhere else to make this a better place. She worked hard. She enjoyed life. She gave of herself to others, to those who were homeless. And she walked uprightly in life. And now she is no more. Our words cannot restore her, but our actions can honor her. Let us walk uprightly in Michelle Go's heavenly footsteps. And let us work to ensure that the budgets of the state and the city of New York reflect our priorities, and that they include housing, supportive housing for individuals struggling with mental illness, and hospital beds, and treatment centers, and aftercare. New York State dumped millions of individuals onto our streets with no care. And it's time that we address that and provide them with assistance, community-based assistance, but most importantly, psychiatric beds. I pray that what Michelle Go worked for will someday come to pass for all of us in life. And I pray that she rests in peace. And I pray that she finds comfort. And I wrap my loving arms around her family. And I pray for her. But I also pray for our city and our state, that we all come together with real and concrete solutions for those who are living on our streets who need care now.
Next, we have our New York State Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Asians Fighting Injustice. I want to thank everyone who is out here in the cold to celebrate the life of Michelle Alyssa Go. Michelle was like any other New Yorker who came to this state in hopes for a better life. She came from California. She got a great job at Deloitte. She spent her time working. She spent her time serving her community with the Junior League, helping those who are recovering from homelessness, young people who were trying to learn and excel in their careers. The typical New Yorker, someone who you just say, thank you for being who you are. And unfortunately for Michelle, she was at the wrong place at the wrong time, a place that many of us know. Before becoming a lieutenant governor and a senator, I used to take the NQR train every day to go to work. And I, like so many of you, have experienced the homelessness that is on our train system. As the Attorney General said, and I agree with her entirely, we cannot allow our train system to be our mental health support system. We must have mental health services that are provided to those in need. I don't know how many of you have heard from the sister of the perpetrator. She told the story of her brother who, when he was younger, was like anyone else, working hard, playing by the rules, rising in work. And then in his 30s, something shifted. His mental health went. He went to the hospital. She asked them to keep him, take care of him, because he is in desperate need of support. And we failed him. And as a result of us failing him, we failed Michelle. So now, what we have to do is we must stop the madness. We have to provide supportive services, hospital beds, mental health institutions for those in need. We in the state have decided that we're going to spend billions of more dollars for more mental health workers to help, and that's important. We are trying to figure out how to provide more supportive housing services. We're spending $25 billion to help with that. But we must work with the city and everyone who is here today to try to make our trains and our streets safer. And we can and must do it together, because this is our New York City, and we will keep it together, and we will not allow New York City to be a place where you can't come and live out the greatness of your dreams. Thank you very much.
Next, we have New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Meng. Thank you, Ben Way and Asians Fighting Injustice for organizing tonight's vigil. And I also want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight on these steps to honor and remember Michelle Alyssa Go. Tonight, we're all mourning the loss of Michelle, who by all counts was a sweet, kind, and incredibly generous soul. She was adventurous, and she loved to travel. As was said, she came here to New York by way of California, but found her home right here in our beloved city. Michelle was selfless with her time, giving back to her community, and volunteering for a decade with the New York Junior League. Through this work, Michelle helps seniors, immigrants, under-resourced students with academic challenges, and job candidates to be prepared for interviews. Her volunteer contributions focused on those who have been marginalized, overlooked, and forgotten, including New Yorkers who were homeless. Her life was full of purpose and service, and the legacy of her death should push us forward as a city to address the gaps that have led to such a tragedy. As a city, we will work tirelessly to ensure that our streets, subways, and workplaces are truly safe for everyone. We must make sure that the appropriate mental health care reaches those who need it the most. We know, we truly, truly know, those of us that have stood time after time with our AAPI community, as was said, for many of us, this is not our first time at a microphone, speaking up and speaking out for our beloved AAPI community. We know that our Asian American community has suffered throughout this pandemic, not just due to COVID, but also due to the fear of going outside, as been said, walking through the streets and simply going about their daily lives due to past incidents of violence. And my message to you is this: you are not alone. We love you. We hear you. We've been there to support you, and we will continue to be there to support you. As a city council, we will continue to invest in services and programming that engages our AAPI communities, and we will work together with our colleagues in government at all levels to ensure that the necessary mental health resources and outreach approaches can prevent a tragedy like this from happening again. To Michelle's beloved family, we stand here and we tribute your beloved Michelle. We wrap our arms around you in tribute to your beloved Michelle. We stand here and hold your hands in solidarity and hope to the memory of your beloved Michelle, to the family, friends, and all loved ones of Michelle. We stand with you today, and we are here with you. We are here with you, and we hear you. We will not leave you. We will continue to be here for you, and we will pray that this is the last time that we as a people, as a city, as a united body, in care and concern for one another, will ever have to stand here in such an event like this again. God bless you all.
Now, we'll proceed and invite some of Michelle's friends who knew her to come and share some words. We will start with her friends from Deloitte, who knew her best.
Hello, my name is Kim Garnett. I, of course, never thought that I would be in this situation where I would be in front of a group of people speaking about losing someone I cared about. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday about what would I say about Michelle. The first thing that came to mind is, wow, she hated attention. And right now she is listening and she's saying, is this reality? Did this happen? Did this happen in Times Square? She hated it. And one of the things that's still hard for me to do is to refer to her in the past tense. On Friday, we were literally texting and messaging about the most mundane of things, New York weather, and whether I would be able to make it back here after coming back from the West Coast. I know it will take time for me and many that worked with her, that were her friends, that went to school with her, to process this loss. The thing that speaks volumes about Michelle is the number of people who have reached out with stories on how she impacted their lives. Michelle and I first met about 3 years ago working in Women in M&A. I didn't know her that well, and she was leading this event, and I didn't know at the time how big of a friendship it would be for me. And the way I like to refer to our friendship is I just kept asking her to do things. She kept saying, yeah, let's do it. You want to come join this project? We really need you. Yes, I will do that. You want to come out to dinner? I will do that. You want to go volunteer at this event? Yes, I will do that. And from January 2020 through 2021 with the pandemic, we really strengthened our friendship, and we'd go for walks in Central Park. We would go sit outside in the freezing weather and eat dinner. We would go to Jadis's Soul Cycle class and make sure we were getting out and working out. She was always there for you when you needed someone. Over that time, I learned a lot about her. I learned that she cares about her friends from years back and how she genuinely kept in touch with them. I learned how long she would stay on the phone with her family, catching up with them and checking on how they were doing. I learned that she loved documentaries and continuing to learn new things. I learned that she wants her friends to be happy and live their best lives. And I saw that she did that for herself. She traveled and took chances, and she showed me what it means to live life to its fullest. I think so soon after a tragedy like this, it's too soon to say everything that I've learned from Michelle. I know new things will sprout up that I had completely forgotten about. I will say she loved New York. We talked about it during the pandemic that we would rather be nowhere else. We knew we could survive here, and we knew we had everything with us. And she loved Central Park. She loved living in the Upper West Side. She loved a random trip to the Woodbury Commons where we would buy more blankets than we could ever need. It was just an amazing friendship. And I guess what I would leave all of you with is what Michelle would want you to take away. 1, go do the things that matter to you. Don't wait for tomorrow to give your permission or grant yourself time. Contribute, whether it's work, volunteering, being a good friend, do something. Like what you do. We had so many conversations about whether what you're doing is worth the time you're spending on it. She really loved finance and helping her clients really work through challenging situations. Figure out what that equivalent is for you. And lastly, have fun. One of my recent fondest memories is we went to Disney World in October. We were both lucky enough to get annual passes before they were pulled and yanked back. And what really pisses me off is she's definitely thinking about she didn't maximize the benefit of that expense. She's definitely a finance person at heart. And she's thinking about how she was planning on this long weekend potentially going there. And so I can't express to you how much knowing and losing Michelle will have an impact on me. I never thought I would have to say these things, but I am grateful she let me stick around and wedge my way into her life. I am better for it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Louise Chang. I was fortunate to meet Michelle 4 years ago when she happily agreed to join our small but growing Deloitte's Women in M&A core team, focused on building our community and advancing our women M&A practitioners. What I immediately noticed about Michelle was her passion and commitment to our people, going above and beyond to mentor and coach them. She was an inclusive leader who treated everyone with respect and dignity. Michelle is also one of the most genuine and authentic people that I know. Whether it was she was the same whether it was during a Women in M&A design session or wine tasting with our friends in Napa. This allowed her to create meaningful relationships not only across our firm but also with our clients. It has been so uplifting to read the heartfelt condolences and stories about Michelle coming in from our clients, even those that she hadn't served for many years. I know we are all heartbroken that Michelle's life was cut so short, but what does make me happy is that I know Michelle lived her life to the fullest. Michelle, we will miss you deeply, but know that you will always be in our hearts and memories. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rakesh Dugal, and I've had the pleasure of being Michelle's friend for the past 13 years. Like Kim mentioned, admittedly, Michelle would probably be mortified to see so many people celebrating her. She was a private person and wasn't one who was much for attention, but she touched people in so many different ways, and it's a testament to all that the impact she's had on everybody. So I don't want to focus tonight on the senseless and unjust tragedy that took Michelle away from us. Nor do I want to focus on what could have and should have been done to prevent this. Instead, I want to focus on how Michelle lived her life. I know that's what she would want. First, She loved to travel, and she had a thirst for experiences. Together, we must have done a dozen trips together. Day trips around Tri-State just to get out of the city or go shopping, maybe just to see nature or to places far, far away. Wherever we went, Michelle always had a plan, and it was often accompanied by a spreadsheet. And she was the one who owned the spreadsheet and all of the reservations. I remember one time she asked me to book a hotel room for our first night in Kenya, and I booked it on the wrong night. Needless to say, for years, she never let me book a reservation again. Her love of travel, though, was really about her want to experience things firsthand. I'll always remember that about her. Second, she was a caring person with a big heart. Many of you have read about her volunteering and community actions around the city, but for those of us who knew her personally, we always saw her as a rock who would drop everything to help her friends, whether it was a celebration or you were in need. Thirdly, she was insanely smart and a true professional who loved a challenge. Michelle was incredibly accomplished in her careers in sales and finance, then as a banker, and then as a consultant. In all her roles, she was a champion of inclusion, especially supporting the development of women in business careers. And that was all a part of her brand. She was very direct, type A, and she was a glass ceiling breaker. No challenge was too big or scary for her. She always wanted to work on the biggest and most challenging things, and she excelled in that environment and encouraged others to excel in that too. Most of all, though, my favorite memories are the simple ones. Hanging out in Central Park, drinking Lambrusco in the summertime, Thai takeout on Sunday evenings when we listened to music and chatted, our shared love of pâté and brie. Those were the best. Lastly, I would like to make a simple request. This is a news story for many, but we cannot forget that behind the story, there is a family, friends, and colleagues who need the time to process those weekend's events. We do ask to respect the wishes of the family and allow them the privacy and space to grieve in their own way. But I ask you all to please join me in a round of applause to celebrate Michelle's life.
You know, I first of all, thank you for sharing those words. Talking to her closest friends, they made it really clear that they're at a loss for words right now. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery to come and try to just share something so personal at a time that's so tough. A lot of them aren't able, they are on the West Coast. They have sent us messages. One, I'd like to remind everybody that they're in a period of mourning, so please respect their privacy. And when they're ready, they will reach out. Next, we will have Perry Young. Perry will read a statement from an individual who couldn't be here today but wanted to share her experience with Michelle.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to read a statement of remembrance from one of Michelle's friends, Oha, who could not make it today. I hope you're all staying warm. From Oha. I had the pleasure of working with Michelle for about 8 months on a project, 2019. She was a kind, incredibly smart person and came across as someone who would make friends easily. She got along with everyone at the client office, my workplace. We were in Miramar, Florida, for a workshop and grabbed drinks at the airport before our flight back to Minneapolis. I remember we shared a pizza, had a glass of wine each. Michelle and I have similar education and professional work backgrounds, MBA in finance, etc. And we were able to connect easily. We were joking about how I could never be a consultant because she was a consultant with Deloitte, but because I was terrified of flying. She comforted me before our flight and told me how safe it was. We got on the airplane. Everything was normal. The airplane picked up speed to take off on the main runway and suddenly stopped right before the air due to a mechanical issue. We were parked on the tarmac for 20 minutes or so before the captain announced that they had called the service center and the issue was fixed and we were on our way. As you can imagine, I was anxious throughout the journey. Michelle was a few rows ahead of me, and after landing, I checked my email and had a note from Michelle asking if I was okay, since that was not a normal takeoff. And she knew that I was going to be scared of flying. I think of Michelle almost every time I fly on a flight. Yesterday, after I heard the news of her passing, I was exchanging Michelle's stories with my ex-manager, who also worked closely with her. When I told him the story, his response was, "That is so Michelle." I guess that's just who she was, a kind, considerate, wonderful human being. I am glad to have known her and extremely sad that she has gone so soon. I can't imagine what her family and friends must be feeling right now, and I will be praying for them. Rest in peace, Michelle.
Before I call up the next speaker, there's only a few more. Thank you for your patience. I wanted to read a letter and an email from our Senator, U.S. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Dear friends, I'm sorry that I cannot attend this vigil in person due to my obligations in Washington, but I am with you in spirit. Michelle Go represented the absolute best of New York, which attracts the brightest and most ambitious people across the country and world to come and pursue their dreams. Reading the accounts of Michelle's family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors, it is clear that she was greatly admired and loved by all. I extend my deepest condolences to all those who were fortunate enough to know Michelle. Nobody deserves to feel unsafe when they are traveling on the subway, walking the streets of their neighborhood, or anywhere else in New York. And I will continue working together with my fellow colleagues in government to do everything in our power to make our city a safer place. May Michelle's memory be a blessing that stirs us all to action. Sincerely, Senator Chuck Schumer. Our next speaker is New York City Comptroller Brad Lander.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Ben. First and foremost, we're here to honor the life of Michelle Alyssa Go, to cry out in pain at her loss, and to offer some small amount of comfort to her friends and her loved ones and her family. I really want to say thank you to the friends of hers who came out. I know that was not easy. We appreciate you sharing her memory with us, making her a person who loved life and lived it here in New York City. Second, I want to offer my solidarity to our AAPI brothers and sisters. As a Jewish New Yorker, I want you to know, Asian American family, that your Jewish neighbors have your back. This is your city. It belongs to you. You belong here. It belongs to you as much as to any of us, and we will not let it be otherwise. We see you. We love you. This is your New York. It's hard to live in a society with so much identity-based hatred, with so much pain and illness, with so much homelessness, with so much violence. But tonight what we're going to do is lift up Michelle's memory and commit to do all the things we possibly can to end that, so that people can live here in peace and harmony. And Ben asked for commitment, so I'm going to make mine. As New York City Controller, I know that the things we need for safety, for health, for well-being come from our community-based organizations. And we have in this city so many wonderful AAPI-led community-based organizations doing that work for safety, doing that work for mental health, doing that work to offer housing and jobs and youth leadership development. And we have not done enough for you. So I'm committed to making sure that we put the resources in our budget that our AAPI-led organizations, our community-based organizations need, that we make sure it gets to you on time, that we put our resources where they need to be to end the hate, to end the violence, and to lift up Michelle's memory, and to make sure that it is a blessing for the future of our city. Thank you, Asians Fighting Injustice. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Ben. We're honored to stand with you.
Before we bring up our final speaker, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the elected officials who were here but had to leave for other events. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, Michelle's Councilwoman Gail Brewer, Council Member Eric Botcher, Council Member Pierina Sanchez, Council Members Crystal Hudson, Sandra Ung, Linda Lee, Lynn Shulman, and State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. If I could invite our next speaker, New York City Public Advocate Jumaane Williams.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Love and light to you all. Thank you, Asians Fighting Injustice. Thank you, Grace, Meng. First, if it hasn't been said, I want to thank you from the way you even brought us together after celebrating the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We could have at this moment come in a space of feeding the fear, but they came in a space of understanding that only love can fight out hate. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to all of the Asian leaders who stood with Black Lives Matter just a few years ago, as that was cried out in the street. Thank you for that. I also thought about, as I came here, there were a lot of folks online and other places who were asking whether it was confirmed whether Michelle was targeted because she was Asian. And I thought about how to respond to that. And then I looked and I realized that it was the people who wouldn't come even if she was. Because the AAPI community has been under attack for many years and they have never showed up. It has been clear that so many of our AAPI New Yorkers have been attacked. It has been clear that there was a president who was pushing and pushing and pushing anti-Asian sentiments and they didn't show up. I am coming to stand with the AAPI community who feels and actually has been under attack for a very long time. I also want to come because I want to express anger of what happened. And I saw the beautiful smile up there of Michelle and so many others, the beautiful smile in the pictures that were put out, the anger of how badly we failed her. For so long, many of us have been talking about the issues on the ground, and we have repeatedly said that we understand our law enforcement partners have a role to play. We want to make sure they play that. But if we don't do anything else, people will continue to die. This is the cross-section of the world. What are we telling to the world? That this incident happened at the most policed place in this city. As was mentioned, the person in custody for doing this, their family pleaded for assistance. They pleaded for them to get the help that they needed, and they didn't get it. And now Michelle is dead. She is gone. She's not coming back. Their family and friends have to look at pictures and remember her in her memory. But this should not have happened. And so the question I have for us as a city is, what did we do since the last time we were here coming together? And it wasn't much. And so I'm pleading with the city and state to understand where we are and get the resources to the people who need it. We understand, and it was said properly, that the MTA should not be a place to house people who are mentally ill. I got to be clear, Rikers Island isn't either. The vast majority of people there have mental health issues. It is the largest mental health facility in North America. It is time to build infrastructure out to provide the assistance that's needed, particularly for people who are chronically homeless and have mentally ill issues. That's what we need to do to protect all New Yorkers, including our AAPI community. And if we're not going to do that, we will be back here another time in front of the cameras saying the same thing. We have to commit to doing this. We have the money. We just need the political will. We need the political will to get it done, or all of the speeches are in vain. So I'm hoping, in the memory of the people that we've lost, in the memory of Michelle Go, that we can actually do the thing that so many of the victims' families ask us to do, which is prevent it from happening again. We can do that, New York. We can send that message from the crossroads of the world. May Michelle's memory only bring blessings and smiles. Peace and blessings. Love and light to you all.
There are a couple of very important leaders in the AAPI community that weren't here today, so I'm going to share their words, after which we will invite activist Alice Choi on stage. Words from John Liu. Our entire city grieves for Michelle Alyssa Go and her family. All at once, her death has broken our hearts in sadness while making us angry at the system that allowed it to happen, and yet proud of the benevolence she lived by during her time with us. As we stand together in her memory and call for more services for the mentally ill and the homeless, as we continue crying out for our society to pay attention to the struggles of the AAPI community, we also come together to remember the extraordinary life of a young woman who represents the best in all of us. We will remember her not just for the violent circumstances surrounding her death, but for the good life she lived, and one of kindness and compassion. Unfortunately, John Liu could not be with us because he is in Albany. Words from, as well, Yuli Neo. She says, I share the community's heartbreak at this tragic and senseless event. Yet through that heartbreak, I am inspired by everyone who has reached out to work with Ben and the organizers of this event. I am joining my assembly colleagues in Albany to redouble our fight to secure the resources mentioned by the coalition today. And I want to remind everyone that Band-Aid solutions can't fix the deep systemic poverty and racism that is endemic to our current system. Until we have a system built in our image, we are here to dismantle theirs. I also want to recognize a lot of partners that made this possible today. A special thank you to the Asian American Foundation, Chief Executive Norman Chen. They made a generous donation to cover the cost of this event, and so we are entirely grateful for their work and look forward to working more closely with them. Fred Rosenberg and Jared Gramstrup of the Sherrod Equities, Josh Strasberg and his team at Clear Channel Outdoor, and Paul Boardman at Mayfield Development made possible the billboards here and donated them to us for this time to show an image of Michelle as well as other AAPIs who perished over the past 2 years, as well as Jonathan Chang, who was the artist who created those images. Julie Kim, our volunteer, JJ and AFI volunteers, we appreciate you and thank you for your time. Times Squares Alliance, President Tom Harris, we thank you for your time. Now, without further ado, I invite Alice here to kind of take us on a personal journey and to bring us home. Thank you.
We are golden.
We shine bright with our golden light. Our community shines bright with your light. You shine bright, Michelle, Alyssa, go, as you rest in golden power. For my entire life, I have taken the subway, turning my head this way, then that way. Who will help out if I call out, hey? Who will help if someone wants me gone today? I stand here now as my heart burns with fury. I cannot simply say, do not worry. Our community is enraged. We grieve and say again. Another name, another life, gone, and then what? To be an Asian American woman in New York City is to feel major and minor feelings woefully. Is to stay alert, hoping we don't get hurt as we wait for our trains. Is to be filled with sorrow and our families with pain. To be Asian American with my eyes above my mask is to look all around me each day. That's a fact. Some may say this was not racially motivated, but to come together and make a change, for that we are morally obligated. I can feel my body shake as I speak. I am tired of the Asian American woman characterized as weak. I urge us all to care for each other. Lend not just one, but many helping hands to our sisters and our brothers. Let us change how we care for homeless folks. Let's take action beyond the words that are deemed woke. Let us cherish the lives and celebrate and thrive so we may all coexist with joy while we are still alive. Let us look around to each other not out of fear, but for solidarity, hope, and love from and with our peers. Without calling for incarceration, we cannot harm more black bodies in our Megwa, beautiful country, severed nation. For the black and Asian communities, we can heal together and listen to each other's stories. We can address the mental health crises and interrupt the racism that kills our souls, minds, and bodies. Broken systems wrangle our humanity with stakes. 2 lives have been failed in a system meant to win and to break. Us, we the oppressed, stressed, and under duress through the daily atrocities, but are still expected to perform at our best. Feel all the feelings this moment may bring. You can cry. You have permission to do more than just languishing. Care for yourself, and remember we can care for our community. Our liberation is intertwined together. Our love and truths will set us free. Our voices matter. Hear our voices. In life, we are always faced with so many choices. Let us join not only in moments of racial reckoning, not only when someone is lost or when hate is beckoning. Solidarity is not a rarity. It is a daily commitment we make in the actions we take to create change with our youth and to innovate our fate. For I know we matter more than just in Black History Month and Lunar New Year. For I know we are stronger together as we shed our tears. For we shall not divide and conquer our communities and society. Instead, we will rise from this unjust hypocrisy. Despite injustice that continues to wear a cape of what's fair, let us abolish what does not work, dismantle the inequitable air. Stronger, together, our communities unite. May our inner strength carry us through this night. We, the people, will rise tall as skyscraper heights, and together we shine bright with our golden light. "我们是金的，我们是金的。We are golden. We shine bright with our golden light. Our community shines bright with your light. You shine bright, Michelle, Alyssa, go as you rest in golden power." Let us take a moment of silence as Michelle Go rests in golden power. Our community shines bright with your light. You shine bright, Michelle, Alyssa, go as you rest in golden power. Thank you.
On behalf of Asians Fighting Injustice and the local AAPI community, we thank you all today for braving the cold with us, the winter chill for over 2 hours. It means a lot, not just to us, but to the thousands who are watching on, to Michelle's friends who we know are watching, and to our family who I hope can hear us send our loves to them. We carry her memory in our hearts, and I will commit myself to making sure that her memory and her passing was not in vain, that good will come out of this, that the promises made here today will be followed through on, and that us, myself, Asians Fighting Injustice in the local community, and the leaders you see here today will deliver on those promises to protect New Yorkers, to protect the AAPI community, and to give fair treatment and help that the mentally ill and the destitute and the underrepresented so severely need in our city at this moment in time. We ask for you to stay in touch with us. For Asians Fighting Injustice, you can find us on socials and online. We are always welcoming. We hope to open more dialogue and hear your concerns and work together with other communities. Finally, a special thank you to Canal, Light and Sound, Sound and Light. Thank you to them for coming together and providing these services today. Thank you to the Jackhammer guys who gave us a moment of silence for 2 minutes. You know, we appreciate, we know you have a schedule to meet. And thank you for all of you who care enough to show up. Let's continue to do the right thing and fight the good fight. And let's keep each other honest and move forward. Thank you and good night.